find out from Thomas the number of demonstrations that the Poles attended for the Hungarians and the Hungarians attended for the Poles. I think it's quite a nice number, only here in London. I love that we have this beautiful common history, which probably no other two nations have. One of the most important Polish buildings in this country, Ognisko Polskie, from the Second World War, has a beautiful Hungarian flag to commemorate the soldiers who bravely fought during the uprising. This is just a small symbol that will be here in the wall, hopefully for dozens and hundreds of years. But what is really beautiful is how we are coming here together. How, despite the weather, despite the day, despite any other problems that we have, we come here to pay a tribute to all those who fought for freedom. My speech will not be long, but I will touch on a few topics which I wanted to say to you. First of all, the Poznań June uprising. Although it was much smaller than the uprising in Budapest, it is something that happened just a few months before and maybe gave courage to all those who wanted to fight against the communists afterwards. The Poznań June was the first protest against the Soviet-imposed communist government that was established after the end of World War. On June 28th, workers began demonstration at Poznań's Cegielski factories, demanding better conditions and pay and protesting a recent rise in taxes and higher work quotas. I will be speaking about quotas as well, about something different soon. The workers took to the streets and were soon joined by workers from other factories, students and intellectuals, resulting in over 100,000 people gathering at the Imperial Castle in Poznań, where city officials and the UB secret police had their headquarters. Among the demands were lower food prices, wage increases, and the revocation of recent laws that had worsened conditions for workers. However, a peaceful protest soon turned violent as the crowds took over the prison, freeing political prisoners and seizing firearms for the demonstration, as well as ransacking the Communist Party headquarters in the secret police building, which resulted in the first shots being fired in the crowd. But it wasn't until the Soviet forces arrived that the real crackdown began. Tanks, armored cars, field guns and lorries full of troops surrounded the city and began to take detainees for often brutal interrogations, which would leave almost 1,000 people detained. In the city, fighting began on the streets between the armed protesters and the Soviet forces. In the end, the rebellion was brutally crushed, with estimated casualties being between 57 and 100 dead and 600 wounded. I know that for our Hungarian friends, the numbers are more than 10 times larger. However, the protest led the way towards real changes following October, including wage rises and other reforms that signified an era of post-Stalinist fall. The Poznań 56 protests are considered to be one of the first events that precipitated the fall of communism in Poland. This protest didn't make communism fall, and many young children died, just as in your uprising, many young people died. But the struggle for freedom can be seen that a step by step, small steps by step, sometimes using weapons, as in the past, sometimes using articles, sometimes using every force that you can, peaceful protest, you can have the change brought to you. I will quote now Ronald Reagan, a very beautiful quote about freedom that I think, and I would want you all to remember from today. Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on for them to do the same. I don't fully agree with this quote because I think that Polish and Hungarian people have it in our blood that we want to fight for freedom and that we will never give up. But it's a very important saying because if we will not gather here, if we will not put flowers here, if we will not remember about those people, remember their names, what they did, remember their pictures, their faces, their photos. This will be gone. There were some beautiful nations and civilizations in their history. They didn't write down what they did. They didn't commemorate them enough. Now nobody remembers about them. That's why these beautiful acts have to be remembered forever. I don't want to speak about politics today, because what we are doing here today is above politics. It doesn't matter which governments we have, what the politicians do. We care about the love for the country, the love for the nation, the love for the people, the love and freedom. But I cannot ignore certain incidents which happened in Europe not a long time ago. There are some conflicts in the Middle East, some unfortunate events which brought wars to these poor countries in the Middle East. Because of that, there is a lot of people fleeing the wars, and not only people fleeing the wars, there is many people who are using this opportunity to find a better life and go to the most socialist countries to get their benefits. We are witnessing a huge flood of people coming to Europe. And Hungary is one of those countries which border with other countries, and there are no real EU borders, because as we have seen, there is unlimited immigrants coming from Greece, from Serbia, Croatia. The borders are not very stable. And we have seen that Hungary has had serious problems with hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrants coming everywhere, all around Europe, and nobody's doing anything about this. There are some organizations who are supposed to protect our borders. They don't do anything. And of course, we are humans. Most of us are Christians. Whether we are Christians or not, we're all good people. We need to help others. We need to help a person that is fleeing from another country. But we cannot help everybody. There will always be millions and billions of people who are poor, who are in very difficult conditions. This is what's happening in our world right now. We should be sending maybe money, maybe teaching them how to do business. We should be doing whatever we can to prevent the wars. But we will never be able to accept unlimited numbers of hundreds of thousands of people into our countries, because this will destroy our own homes. We had a great cardinal, Wyszyński, who was killed by the communists in Poland. And he said, you should be good and you should help people. But first, you help your family, then you help your local people, then you help your nation, then you help our other people. It needs to be an order, because if we will start helping everybody far away, we will forget about our homes.